I didn't expect to be this bummed about losing this vehicle today. This is the GMC Hummer EV SUV, and GMC let me borrow it for a week, so thank you to GM for that. And no, they didn't sponsor this video. No, they have no input or review or editorial, whatever, control, anything on this video. It's all me and my thoughts, but they did provide it to me. So just full disclosure there. It is surprisingly good. I did not expect this. In fact, when I first saw this back in Arizona, I thought, why are they even doing this? Like, why even make this thing? It doesn't make any sense. I don't like it at all. But I was wrong, and I am pleasantly surprised here. So let's get into it. What is this vehicle here, and what do you need to know about it? So let's start with price. $105,000 for the one I'm sitting in right now. You can option it up beyond that, but the base model and everything looks right around to $100,000 before taxes and stuff. So looking in the low 110, 115 after it's all said and done, most likely. Then you have range. So this one has 314 miles of range, and I can say that it was pretty true to it for the week. I only had to charge one time, and I've been using it as my daily driver, taking the kids to school, going to get groceries, all those kind of things. So the range is good. It's more than you need on a day-to-day basis. And then when it comes to performance, its 0 to 60 time is 3.5 seconds, which is bananas for something that is just a beast. It is like 9,000 pounds. It's gigantic. It sits so high. In fact, this morning I took my kids to school in the Rivian, and I felt like I was in a car. It felt like, oh my God, what is this dinky little truck? This thing is massive, and you know it when you're driving it. And so if you don't like that, then this isn't for you. But if it's something you enjoy, a bigger vehicle, one that sits higher off the ground, then yeah, this thing is actually super fun to drive. But there's no escaping the fact that you're driving this like behemoth of a vehicle. So yes, it can go to 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Yes, it has a ton of pickup and all those kind of things, but it is not like driving a Porsche or even my Rivian, or if you're maybe familiar with like a Tesla Model 3 or something. Nowhere near that. You know that you are in a boat, and this thing, it kind of floats and it's very comfortable, but it's not a sporty vehicle in that way. Now, it does have air suspension, so it can raise and lower, which is cool. It has the easy entry and exit type stuff, so it'll kind of lower once you park the vehicle and then raise back up once you're actually driving. I like that. It works well. It doesn't have any of the weird quirks that my Rivian had when I first got it, where it was just constantly adjusting. It was just, it's just good. So when it comes to driving, we have to talk about Super Cruise. It's GM's form of autopilot. You know you're at Super Cruise when the steering wheel actually lights up with a green light bar, and it will do so. It will stay lit and let you drive hands-free, completely hands-free, no steering wheel nag or anything like that, as long as your eyes are on the road. So if you start looking away, you start doing this, you start messing with the kids in the back or something, then it's going to start beeping at you and freaking out. But as long as you're paying attention, your eyes are forward, it's going to remain in Super Cruise as long as you're on a road that supports it, which is basically every freeway, at least by me out here in Southern California. And I have to say, Super Cruise itself worked really well. I did have the lane keep assist on. There's like a button that was hidden. I don't know how it even got clicked. That thing was very scary and difficult, and I do not recommend that. So if you're getting one of these, or if you're driving one, make sure that's off, because it's almost like you're fighting. It always wants to figure out what to do, but it's not quite good enough. So you're always just kind of, it's trying to pull you this way, you're trying to go that way. It's a fight, and it's not a good driving experience. So once I found out how to disable that, the actual driving of it felt great, and Super Cruise works phenomenally well. Although I will say the steering wheel is a little jittery when you're in Super Cruise, right? So there's when it comes to these ADAS systems, Tesla Autopilot, Driver Plus, and Rivian, whatever. The way I want it to work is how Autopilot works, where it is just solid. You have just, from the moment you enable it, it's like ultimate confidence. The wheel doesn't jiggle around. It doesn't swim in the lanes. It doesn't do any of that. It just works. It's perfect. Now, this guy actually drives just as good as Tesla Autopilot. However, the wheel kind of jiggles around, and it doesn't make sense. And it's something that I think my wife was a little bit concerned by. Hey, honey, are you sad to see this thing go?
It was fun. It was a lot more fun than I thought. I thought it was going to be a ridiculous car, but I think my only complaint was that it was so wide. It was so big, but everything else was really fun about it. Kind of like how like a Jeep or
Bronco
or something would be like, where it was a good height. I loved the top coming off.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite part? It's the T-top, right?
I love the T-top. It was so fun. I can't remember the car I had growing up. My parents had it for a couple years, and it had a T-top, and I remember it being so fun. And so, it's summer in San Diego and the weather's beautiful. And so we took off the top, drove at night and drove in the day with it. And it was really fun. I thought it was really smart how it could tuck into the frunk. So I don't know, that was just really sold me on like the enjoyable part of
it's a fun
the
vehicle.
car. Yeah. And then as far as like an SUV, it fit everything. It fit the kids in the back and had good storage space. I took it out a couple times and did stuff with it that I had to pick up. But parking, like city parking, it's not ideal for. But yeah, everything else was really good. I am gonna miss the roof coming off. It was so fun.
The T-top. She needs a T-top.
I think I know what kind of car I want now. I can't believe how fun that was. The kids didn't love it all the time.
No, because it's so windy.
It's so windy on the freeway, but
and bright. The sun is just like baking you.
Yeah, I just love how maybe because when I was growing up, we always had like moonroofs and sunroofs, and Tesla doesn't have that. Like you have this gorgeous ceiling, but you never get to pop up and open it.
You don't get to use it.
So it was kind of, I think that's what it reminded me of. Like it took me back. Like I could just take off just one side, or we took off the front a lot. But yeah, that was a really cool feature. But all in all, like really kind of a cool.
Really impressed, yeah.
It's not the ones of the early 2000s or whatever. Like they definitely made it cool, but it is
less
still
blingy.
It's less blingy. It is still really wide. Like it was giving me more Bronco vibes, and it was Hummer vibes, except for the width of it.
Yeah.
That would be my only you have to live somewhere where you can park it and be okay with it. But
yeah, it's tough.
I would actually never thought I would say this. Like I would actually recommend this car to someone if they were looking, because I thought it was going to be ridiculous, and they did a really good job. Like the miles, there was a crazy amount of miles on it. The storage was good. Yeah, it was really comfortable to drive, so I liked it.
Okay.
Shocker.
I know, this was a surprise. That's why we do this. All right.
That was a big shocker.
Go to yoga.
I think.
I mean, so there you have it. So the ultimate question, what does my wife think of it? I thought she was going to absolutely hate this. I didn't even tell her that we were getting it. And in fact, I wasn't even sure I wanted it, because I when I saw the truck back a couple years ago, I was like, whatever. I mean, it was cool. I was like, yeah, but no one would buy that. And now I'm with her. Like I would absolutely recommend this to someone that wanted or liked the kind of look or whatever. Like this thing is good in all the kind of ways that really matter. And I was thoroughly surprised by that. Pleasantly surprised, I should say. The tech inside is as good as GM does. It's not my favorite, but it does support Apple CarPlay. So, hey, guess what? I didn't have to install any apps. I didn't have to log in. It had every single app, every single music streaming, every single messaging thing that I support on my phone. It all was just built in. It works. That's why I love Apple CarPlay. I know it's not the sexiest, software and the UI and everything. Don't care. It works, and that's all I care about. And then, the rest of it, I like having some physical buttons for stuff. I got used to it pretty quickly. The steering wheel is a bit much. There are like an ungodly amount of buttons and things, and it took me quite a while. There's even buttons like on the back to change the song and everything. But once I kind of acclimated to that, it was like I always had it. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't take long to get used to. And as Jenny mentioned, it is super wide, like very, very wide. It barely fits into a parking space. But because it has four-wheel steering, meaning the back wheels turn as well, it is very maneuverable. That was something that I think I really miss now going back to my Rivian. I'm like, I wish I had four-wheel steering, because, this thing is way bigger than the Rivian, but it's so much easier to kind of weave in and out of things just because of that four-wheel steer, which is where you get crab walk, which is kind of this silly thing where you can go diagonal. I did test it out. I don't know why I would ever use it, but it does exist. So the real benefit of something like a crab walk feature is the four-wheel steer. So it can turn on a dime. I can maneuver. I back into all my parking spaces almost always. And so doing that on here with all the cameras and everything, which were really high quality, it was really easy. So in terms of it's very big, but it still wasn't like that difficult to drive. The only real challenge was narrower roads or parking spaces that were small. And being in San Diego, we have a lot of the situation going on. So, it's not ideal if you're somewhere like, say, in New York City or something. But if you live in, 99% of the country that isn't like that, you'll be fine. And as she mentioned, yes, probably our favorite feature was being able to remove the roof. There are 4 panels, they come off, and they fit perfectly inside of the frunk. The frunk is actually very big, and it's like the Ford one where the actual grill part comes up as well. So if you wanted to take it to the beach or something, you could do that and just pop it open and sit on it right there, versus say how my Rivian is, where the grill doesn't, it's stationary, so things fit inside of it. So that's nice, but just the thoughtfulness that went into making sure that these panels fit perfectly together right there. You can kind of adjust it like we did it. We went to the beach one time, took these off. It was great. And then later went out for dinner and we're like, oh, let's put them on now. It's, it's nighttime, it's getting cooler and all that kind of stuff. So I just think they really did a fantastic job with all of those like little details, because those things really add up. And yes, there is a ton of storage in the back. There's only 2 rows of seats though, so it's a 5-seater. It's not a 3-row SUV. I couldn't find an option for that on the website, so I don't think that's coming, or maybe it's coming later. But that storage in the back is very big. The only complaint I have though is the way that the powered gate, like the tailgate, it swings out because you have a tire on the back of it. So when it swings out, I mean, you need 5-6 feet of room almost behind you in order to access that. It does have drop glass, meaning the windshield or the window there does go down, so you can reach inside. But let's say you need to pull something out, it has to open like in the worst way possible. So again, if you live in a place that doesn't have a lot of room, that's going to be an annoyance for you. We were able to navigate it, even going to beaches and places where we didn't have a lot of space. But I would say if there's anything I can nitpick in terms of the design, in terms of functionality that I wasn't in love with, that was the one thing. And the only other thing that I would say is probably a negative, and it's only a personal negative, is the fact that this is a Hummer. The brand itself was sort of the anti-environmentalist brand for, its peak kind of bling culture back in the early 2000s. So to me, I always didn't like that. I hated that concept. And so this being sort of the anti-environmentalist vehicle is redeeming, but I still don't think I personally would want to own a Hummer. And it, nothing against people that own Hummers or anything like that. It's just not, the brand doesn't fit with me. And so I think that's might be one of their biggest hurdles, is people that are into EVs, looking at it going, it's a Hummer. I don't want to own a Hummer. But if you can kind of shed that away, or if you like the brand, then I would highly recommend this vehicle. Even for the price, it's $100,000 is a lot. But if you look at very high-end, large SUVs, like a friend of mine just spent well over $100,000 for an Escalade. I mean, you can easily get into this price point. So this vehicle, while expensive, is totally price competitive in its class and category. So there's really no negatives other than, like I said, the rear gate and the brand. But if you do want to see the review of the truck I did from a couple years ago, check it out right here. It was a super fun video. I go into the whole history behind Hummer and how it came to be, and I think you'd really get a lot of it. If you're interested in this one, you're definitely going to like that video. So that's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you back here next time.